Good morning, good people of YouTube. It's your buddy Choppadong. I am coming at you with a hyper simple breakdown for Friday, May 10th, 2019. Can you believe May's already a third of the way over? We got about 40 games into the MLB season at this point, and really and truly, we've got some good sample sizes. So for DFS purposes, things have never been better. We got a long way to go. But for life purposes, how fast does time fly by? My goodness, I just blinked and it was Christmas, it feels like. But anywho, let's dive in. Let's discuss the baseball slate for today. It's 14 games, which I will not be doing. You are tuning in to me to catch some of the smaller slate stuff most of the time. So we're going to focus on the 5-game, 8 p.m. slates, should they open up. I haven't checked DraftKings yet. I know FanDuel is not out yet. But I'm anticipating the 8 o'clock hours are going to give us 4 or 5 games, so we're just going to cover them as 5 games, pretend it's its own little slate, and I'll show you kind of what I do. It's easier to process information on these smaller slates because you can do a lot of manual work, which I'm going to show you something at the end here that is going to blow your mind. So stick around, stay tuned, let's dive in. As usual, brought to you by the one, the only DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy sports. I'm lead content supervisor, content editor, writer, whatever, coach, whatever you want to call it, at DFSArmy.com. So click the link down there in the comment section. If this is the type of information that you like, and this is the type of information you want to discuss in more detail, you need to come inside of the coaching forums and use that link to do so. Use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, trigger that 20% off discount that stays with you for the lifetime of your membership, and your prices never go up even if ours do. So there's really no better time to get in now if you want to learn baseball, because I have just kicked on to something that I will show you that probably will land in the research station. I'm petitioning for it too, and it's just because I need the math to be done for me. And this is going to show us how to find value. If you remember from the last video I did, or maybe one before that, I came up with an analogy that I actually like, and I've used it a few times: going grocery shopping. In DFS, we're all about finding the value. And going grocery shopping is similar in that you want to buy things on sale. You want more bang for your buck. If I had $250 for the week to go grocery shopping for my wife and my kids, then I would want to find things on sale. I would want to find things that are the better bargain, because I would want to come out of that store with $400 worth of food for my $250. That's how I beat the game. That's how I game the system. That's how I win. In DFS, I get a $60,000 cap. I'm wanting $80,000 worth of production. I'm wanting $100,000 worth of production, because that's what's going to give me the edge over the other people that don't find the value, or people that miss their plays or whatever. I'm getting more bang for my DFS buck based on the cap constraints. So what I'm trying to do is find players that are on sale. Let's run through the slate first, and I'll show you how I'm finding players that are on sale. First thing that we're doing is we're going to look at pitchers. Now, for those of you that are brand new, that are just maybe checking this out, I look for pitchers first. I start everything off by finding the best pitchers. And what do? I use a combination of K-score, which is my own little metric of combined strikeouts for the pitcher and the team he's facing. And then I use Vegas odds, and then I use price to determine if I'm going to pay less in price. I don't want a significant drop off in my strikeout potential, or I might as well just pay top dollar for it, because strikeouts are king on FanDuel especially. And I'm sorry, this is going to be FanDuel centric, because that's the way I'm thinking. I don't have the time to dig into the DraftKings stuff today. You'll see some DraftKings comparisons, but really and truly, this is going to be a little bit more FanDuel centric. I apologize. It's just a time thing. So let's kind of look over how we might look at some of these pitchers on this mock 5-game slate. Scroll over in the research station to DFSA grade. That's great. But scroll over further, you'll find shop. There's K-score. This is the number I'm using now. We've got enough data now that we can use this. We don't have to use some of the older samples that I was using before. So Verlander leads the slate at a 545, Marquez second at a 507, then Odorizzi at a 460, and then it drops off sharply. And the 460 is not great, but it drops off sharply all the way down to people like Wainwright and whatever to 387. Wainwright's not swinging and missing bats anymore. He's a different type of pitcher. He's pitching to contact a little bit more these days. Now, when I'm looking for the combination, I'll write these down and put them in a table form. So if you can, block out below the black line, because we'll get to that. That's the tease for later with those numbers beside that. I'll show you how I come up with those. But Verlander 11.3, Marquez 7.9. This is a significant drop off, $3,000 or more, $3,400. I get great Vegas odds with Verlander and a great K score with Verlander, but for $3,000 discount, I'm getting similar production potentially or similar confidence. I know it's a riskier play, but I'm getting similar upside or similar value, if you will, points per fantasy dollar, even if I suffer a little bit in the Vegas odds and suffer a little bit with the K score, because Marquez doesn't have to have quite as good a night to produce the same value multiplier that a Verlander does. So to me, these guys are in similar situations. I know that Marquez is pitching in Coors, and I know there's risk to that. But sometimes you just got to take some damn risk. It's like if I buy generic ketchup, I'm taking risk. It's going to give me the shits. But really and truly, sometimes it's okay because you discover that that ketchup tastes just the same. Okay? So I'm trying to take educated risks without giving myself the shits. But the point is, with Odorizzi, the price is up. I better see a better Vegas odds, which I do, a better K-score, which I don't. I like Marquez over Odorizzi a little bit. I don't mind Odorizzi. I don't mind Verlander. I like Marquez maybe a little bit more. Now, people ask, you've got it narrowed down to 3 pitchers. Are you even 33%, 33%? No, not always. I may start there, but then I may kind of walk through the slate a little bit more and go, ooh, that Verlander is really risky. There's some hot San Diego bats or whatever the heck I'm going to come up with later down the road today and go, ooh, I may only want 40% Marquez or 30% Marquez. I may want 70% Verlander. Or, I want to bring Odorizzi, even though he's priced up off of Marquez. I may want more Odorizzi because I feel safer attacking Detroit. Now, what I do like is that Marquez is priced up on DraftKings. DraftKings is more dynamic. They play the matchup more. I don't like that Odorizzi's priced down. That factors into my decision facing Texas versus Detroit. I mean, Odorizzi's got some qualities, right? If you look at Wainwright, 7,500 if you wanted to save some money. Price down on DraftKings, minus 145 is okay. 387 is horrible. You can't give up runs, and Wainwright can get shelled. So this is a pitcher I will take out of my pool. I had him listed in for price. I will take him right out of there. I don't like the 387. I'm not saying Pittsburgh's going to thump him for 8 runs, but they might. And if they do, I don't have 10 strikeouts in the bag to recover, to erase those runs. These guys do have that. I look at Arrieta, 422 K score, still pretty low. KC, though, is not a set of bats I'm too afraid to tackle sometimes. They've been going pretty well lately. But overall, they're not terrible. When the Arrieta's favored, 89, 900, he's priced about the same, 135 Vegas odds. Okay. I don't think Arrieta's going to win the slate. I think winning the slate is going to come from one of these 3 guys, and I hope it comes from Marquez. So I don't know where I'm going to shake out. I just know those are my 3 main pitchers right there. I don't mind a little bit of Arrieta. I will scratch Wainwright off. Actually, I'm just going to delete him right now. Okay, so when I'm looking at these guys, this is where I'm going with pitchers. Now, I've got my ideas of what I want for my pitchers. I know Texas probably not in a great spot. San Diego maybe not in a great spot. Detroit maybe not in a great spot. But I'm still going to look at where maybe the bad pitchers on the slate are. So I'm going to go back to my research station, and I'm going to start looking for things like DFS grade. What's under a 30? Wainwright, Lauer, Ross. And I'm going to write these guys down. Pittsburgh, Colorado, Minnesota might be potential stacks for me facing bad pitchers. Teams facing bad pitchers sometimes do well. So when I come over a little bit more and I look for, say, Sierra, and I see a 4.89, who's that? Homer Bailey, a 4.97 Tyson Ross, a 4.67 in Odorizzi. I'm going to add Detroit, Philly, and of course double down on Minnesota. See what I'm doing? I'm starting to line up some boxes, checking off some boxes. I'm trying to find indicators that a team is worthy of stacking by looking for bad pitching. I could look at hard contact. I could look at any other kind of number that I want. I just stick to Sierra. Sierra basically tells you what a pitcher's ERA should be, what he's pitching like today. He may be, he may have an ERA that's 4.89 and Homer Bailey may have an ERA of 2.7. All that means is he's about to get shelled. And I want to be there when he does. Okay. I mean, you can look at all sorts of other things, what W score, whatever. These are all things that we may talk about someday inside DFS Army to our VIPs, but I really don't look at much else besides maybe a little bit of grade and Sierra. And the other thing that I do, and this is when I'm looking at what I do for the sixth grader in UU, I go down to the first look article from Notorious, and I was using this to compile K-score and stuff. I don't need to do that anymore because the numbers are the same, but I will scroll down here into the offenses, and I will look for which offenses are struggling or which pitchers are struggling against lefty and righty bats, both. I would ideally, Cleveland is facing Frankie Montas, who is facing, having trouble with lefties and having a little bit of trouble with righties. Granted, he's not on the slate I'm looking at the 8 o'clock games, but I'm looking for these types of situations. LA would be in a great spot, right? So if you're a main slater, LA's in a pretty good spot against Dan Straley. Dan Straley's having trouble against these both sides of the plate. Colorado's in a good spot. 337 to lefties, 331 to righties. They're on our slate, right? So Colorado is a team I would be targeting. Minnesota, left-handed bats. Not so much right-handed bats, but left-handed bats. Houston, left-handed bats. Not so much right-handed bats. Philadelphia, both sides of the plate. Not so much in St. Louis because it looks like Trevor Williams is okay. Probably a softer contact guy just looking at these numbers because he's not a great pitcher, but he's not giving up tons of hits either. It's usually indicative of a contact guy. Ooh, lefty. Arrieta's having trouble with lefties. Kansas City lefties, sneaky play. And then there's really just not much else going on except, Detroit, look down there. Odorizzi, 341 to lefties, 336 to righties. So that's why Detroit's in play. Odorizzi's maybe the third best pitcher on our slate, but he also gets into trouble against both right and left-handed bats, which means you can hedge your bet here. You can play some Odorizzi, but in your non-Odorizzi lineups, you can have some Detroit stacks in hopes that in that way, you don't care what the game does. Odorizzi can do great. He can do horribly. It doesn't matter. Some of your lineups are doing well. This is one of the things I'm trying to educate some of the guys in the coaching forums on right now is don't just build one lineup. Maybe build 2 or 3. Because then you can play this game. I can take if I like Odorizzi, I don't have to panic about it. I see this number and go, oh my God, Detroit might hit him hard. And I don't get scared of Odorizzi. I'll just put Odorizzi in one lineup and a Detroit stack in another lineup. No, I don't care. Because if that game, whatever happens in that game, I've got some chances of success, and then not all of my lineups tanked, and I don't go, damn, I guessed wrong again. Instead, I'm going, wow, something at least worked. I'm on the right track. Hey, I can play this game. And that mental edge, that mental confidence boost will help you. It will help you get better. So now we've found a few stacks. If I flip my little notepad over here, because I'm going to need to dive into something here in a minute, I have Minnesota, Philly, Detroit, Colorado, Pittsburgh, Houston written down as potential stacks. Now, that's too many for a 5-game slate. You would like to concentrate your efforts a little bit more on what you really, really like, because that way when it works out, you're set up across, if you did 20 lineups, you're set up across all of those lineups. And that's what you're wanting. Okay, you're wanting to be set up well across all 20 lineups. Now, if you're only doing 2 or 3 lineups, it's fine. Pick from any of these. But if you're doing 20 lineups, you're going to want to target that approach a little bit more. So I circled Philadelphia. I circled Colorado. I underlined Detroit. And I know Houston is running just too hot to ignore. So then I'm down to 4 stacks. Minnesota would be another good. See, I can't decide. I'm going to have to decide at some point today. But Philly's having trouble. Philly's pitchers having trouble both sides of the plate, 366 and 365. Colorado's pitchers having both sides of the plate, 337 and 331, or the pitcher Colorado's facing. I like those. They're both, having, high Sierra pitchers that are also struggling against both sides of the plate. I like that. And Houston's hot. Houston's probably going to be chalky. I may take a flyer on a Wainwright blowing up and stack Pittsburgh. I may go left-handed Minnesota bats. I may go against Odorizzi with a stack, a hedge stack and take a Detroit. I don't know where I might filter in those secondary stacks. But right now, my primary stacks are probably Philly, Colorado, and Houston. So now that we have those figured out, let's dive into the research station again. And let's look at the trends tool. And let's look at Philly and Houston and Colorado. So we sort that L7 WOBA down. And I checked it today against Fangraphs. It's current. Filter that down. And let's look at Houston. Houston's just too hot to ignore. Oh, that's just outfielders. Gotta kick those off and bring all of Houston in there because I was doing some math. Brantley, Springer, Chirinos, Bregman, Gurriel, maybe Stassi if he starts, Correa. These are guys over a 400 WOBA. Anything over about a 375 WOBA is what I'm looking at because it's an OPS over about 900. And it's telling me, and you can use a 14-day sample if you want. You can use a 7-day sample. I like to use both. I like to look. 663 is better than 484. Brantley is getting hot. He's still getting hot. He's staying hot. 585 over 456 tells me the same thing. I will watch a guy like, the 413 down to a 399 in Korea. Maybe he's cooling off a little. It's largely the same number, so it doesn't really matter. The 333 down to a 146, though, in Tony Kemp is awful. Tells me that in the last 2 weeks he was hitting a 330, but now all of a sudden this week he's only hitting a 146. He's cooled way off. Okay, that's how I use these numbers. I use this as my baseline. I use this as my indicator. Is the guy getting hotter or getting colder? And I roster accordingly. Or at least I like the player accordingly. I don't mind Correa if he fills in as part of a stack. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find value, and that's what we're leading up to. But let's really quickly look at Philadelphia. And we want to see Sean Rodriguez start tonight if we can, because a 582 for 2,700 is just ridiculous. But Rhys Hoskins and Cesar Hernandez are also over that mark. A little bit of Phil Gosselin if he starts, which I don't think he will. And then a big drop down to Bryce Harper. 319, 345, okay, he hit a home run. He got a spike in his L7 WOBA. Good for you. I want to see it sustain itself a little bit. So I'm going to be focused on these bats up here if they start in the lineup. Then I'm going to look at Colorado. And I'm going to look at Ian Desmond, Arenado, Iannetta, Blackman, Tapia, Mark Reynolds, maybe 311 to 356. Maybe he's starting to come up. See how I'm using that 388 to 408. Tapia's coming back on, coming back on fire. 424 to 516 is good. The 526 to 521, don't sweat that. It's 0.005. It's nothing. 476 to 535, heating up. So Colorado's potentially heating up. This is and facing a softer pitcher and a spot that we should probably be attacking. Makes sense, right? These are the guys. If these guys are in your lineups, I'm not going to say squat to you if you come at me and say, "Hey, how's my lineup look?" I'll be like, "It's fine. It's got a bunch of my guys in it." It makes sense to me. Does it mean it's going to work out tonight? No. But it makes sense to me. Now, I'm going to turn these guys back off for a second, go back out to the main slate. We're going to go position by position because I want to show you something. And how I came up with these numbers. So this is the part where we're going to dive into this below down here. Okay, we're looking at catchers and first basemen, and this is potentially revolutionary to me. And it's going to train your eye. You won't have to do the math forever, most likely, but it'll be nice if we get the math put out there. What's this 507 mean for Jason Castro? Jason Castro is $2,600 on FanDuel. He's hitting a 512 WOBA over his last 7 days. So I pull up my trusty calculator here, and I say, because it's a 512, it's 3 digits. I'm going to use only 3 digits of his price. So 260, not 2600, 260, right? Lop off that last one. 260 divided by 512. Is that what I said it was? Was 512? 512. That gives me a 0.507 ratio or percentage or whatever you want to call it. What it's going to do is it's going to tell me the salary that Castro's at and the WOBA that he's hitting for. How much of a bargain is he? So Castro's a 507, Molina is a 578. A more expensive Chirinos is a 623, right? Who's expensive on that? Who are the expensive bats? I'll tell you. Let's do the outfield. I hope that I can get this across to you, and I think I maybe can with the outfield, and then we'll discuss this as a whole. So let's go back here really quick and let's look at the outfielders, because I have 2 names in mind. First of all, Hunter Prince. Oh, look at that. Hunter Pence, 3,800, and we should probably look at a Jorge Soler. You flip my page over here just so I can see what I'm looking at. Yeah, let's look at Soler, Brantley, and Pence. Actually, where's Blackman? We'll throw him in the mix. Brantley and Blackman. It's a good comparison there. So the price is the same, right? 4,300, 4,300, Brantley and Blackman. The WOBAs are not. Brantley's outproducing Blackman by a little bit. Blackman's a 516, Brantley is a 663 over the last 7 days. So that tells me Brantley's a better bargain, right? I'm getting more production for the same dollars, right? If I kick it to a ratio, I can see in the outfield, I can see Brantley's a 648, Blackman's an 833. So I'm looking for guys that are and it's easy to do when they're the same price, 4,300, 4,300, or they're close. George Springer, 4,500 at a 585. So if I take the 4,800, 4,80 and divide it into 585, then I get a 769. So I'm in between Blackman, and even though he's priced up $200, he's outproducing Blackman, therefore he's a little bit more valuable. So I'm in between Blackman and Brantley. Okay. Now I will tell you on FanDuel, under a 1.0 seems to be a bargain. Over a 1.0 seems to tell me that he's a little overpriced. Today's just one of those slates where we've got a whole bunch of discounts. So when I'm looking, and I've removed some decimal points and whatever, because I'm lazy, I don't like decimal points. But look, Hunter Pence at a 440 compared to, Blackman at an 833. Hunter Pence at a 440. Why? 3,800 at a 863, which is sick. So remember, 3 decimal places, 380 divided by 863, 440. That tells me there is a ton. If he just maintains this pace, which is unsustainable, but if he maintains the pace 1 more day or 2 more days, this is a ridiculous value. Even at 3,800, it's not a $2,000 min priced guy. Everybody goes to value and goes, I need the cheap guy, 2,100. Not if he's not producing. You can get value. I can get value out of Hunter Pence, and what I'm essentially doing is buying a ton of production for a cheap price. I'm getting my groceries on sale. I mean, I hope this is sinking in. I can't see you. I don't see any feedback or anything. I'm hoping this sinks in because you've got good production in these high WOBA guys. The hot bats, if they just stay hot 1 more day, are all underpriced. Some more than others. And that's what this is doing. These ratios are showing you who is underpriced more. And I don't care if they're expensive bats. Like if a Bryce Harper went bonkers, he can be $5,000 and still be bringing me value. Okay? I don't need a punt. I can start, and those guys, because you're buying so many points, actually become more important than the $2,000 punt that might get you 6 points or 8 points. You'd rather get Bryce Harper getting you 40 because you're going to win more contests that way. So by always focusing on sale prices, you're starting to play DFS, and we finally sort of found a way to equate these guys across positions and within their position. So now I don't need to worry about stacking. This is more of a cash game principle. I don't need to worry about stacking. I can dive into the catchers. Who are my best catchers and first basemen? And it's a deep position. There's a lot of them there. 537, 507, Castro, Gurriel are going to be in a lot of my lineups. Because I can save money here, right? Where I'm not going to be able to save money later. See, I've only got 3 second basemen kind of to pick from that are cheaper. So I could take a Beckham, or a Scope or whatever, and they're okay. They're discounted prices, Beckham, more than Scope. But, if I took a Castro and a Beckham and then a Sean Rodriguez and then a Pence, man, now I can take the leftover money and I can go buy up other guys. I can go buy up Nolan Arenados and Mike Trouts and whatever if I want to. So there's ways I can put in a big stack. There's ways you can work this for GPPs, but for straight cash, you want the most value you can and fill your cap at the same time. So look at this position here at third base. Alex Bregman and Nolan Arenado are the only 2 guys on the slate that are hitting over a 400 WOBA for the last 7 days. So the only 2 hot bats at third base. Doesn't mean somebody else won't come out of the blue. It just means that right now these are the only 2 guys on the slate at third base that are swinging the bat well. These are the 2 guys we're considering. And they're not a deep discount. Arenado's priced about right, and Bregman isn't much of a discount either. But because they're the hot bats, why would I take a lesser bat? Why would I take a schlub who's not hitting the ball well just to save money? That's called punting. And although punting is fine in some cases, generally speaking, your punt needs to have some potential. Not just get lucky, please. He needs to have some potential. These guys have potential as punts, but they afford us the right to pay up at third base and still roster a huge quality bat that is still technically bringing a little bit of value. So if I have to pay a high price for a Bregman or an Arenado, fine. I've got the discounts over here to reach down into. I can use these to correlate some of my teams. I can use these to do. This is stuff we're going to talk about inside DFS Army with the VIPs. This is why you need the coaching. This is why you need access to some of the guys that talk like this, because this is going to help your game. If you're not getting excited right now, you're dead inside. 100 pence even going up against the Verlander might be worth taking a shot on if I have, if I need a little bit of savings. But I can come all the way down here with Springer and Brantley and still be rostering a discount at their ungodly prices, 4,300 and 4,500. But I'm still getting a ton of points for this because they're still underpriced based on this number here. Polanco and Brantley are the same value, so let's look at them. Brantley's a $648, $4,300. Polanco's $3,100. Polanco's a $478, and Brantley is a $663. Would you rather have the $478 WOBA or the $663? Which one's doing more damage? They are the same. So if you need the $1,000, go ahead and take a Polanco. You're getting the same percentage of points that you'd be getting with a Brantley. But if you've got the savings because you've used your discounts elsewhere, buy up for Brantley because you're buying the points. You're buying the raw points. Now again, this is a volatile sport. It doesn't happen this way every day. This is an overall concept that I'm trying to articulate in my own head, which is why I'm wordy right now, why I'm rambling on. But I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain to you guys to search for these discounts. And when you search for these discounts, you're going to find key plays. And you're going to find when it's important to pay up for a Bregman or an Arenado or a Scope or a Caesar or whatever. And you're going to find that you can pay up for a couple of outfielders if you take a value play like a Desmond even or a Pence. Jorge Soler is another one. And this is how you can get the feel, and then we'll leave you with this. When I'm looking down this list, I'm looking, okay, I've got it organized by WOBA, right? The high producing guys are up top right now. And of course, Hunter Pence, Brantley, Springer, Desmond, they're all running hot. And I look down the list. Now I can look in this column for price because the cheaper pricing that's running hot, I can look down here. Oh, Soler, Gregory Polanco, 3,100. Now I can find, now we saw Gregory Polanco was a 648 and Soler was a 618. So Soler, that $100 is actually a little bit better discount off the production because the production is so close together. But how do they compare? Sometimes you can be fooled because this $3,000 is not going to compare to 100 pence at $3,800 because 100 pence is so much hotter. 100 pence is actually the better value than Soler. And you find that by dividing the 380 into the 863 or dividing the 3,000, or in this case 300, into the 485. And you can get an apples to apples comparison and figure out who is actually bringing the best bang for the DFS dollar. And that's what we're going to be focusing on for our cash games, because now I don't care if I stack, I don't care if I don't stack, I don't care. I ran this the other day, it worked out okay. I got back $9 out of my 13, and you're going to say, well, you lost. Yeah, I did. But that was also the day that San Francisco and Houston went for 23 runs. That was also the day that somebody else hung 12 on somebody in my slate, and I didn't have any stacks. So the fact that I didn't have any of those stacks, those monster stacks, and I was still able to compete, win a lot of my head-to-heads, and place in a 10-man league with a top 30% lineup, I still got into the top 30%. This isn't something that's going to win some GPP, but it should beat the majority of your head-to-heads, which it did. And there's an ungodly amount of stacking going on in head-to-heads, which I'm kind of fine with if you want the upside to really sweep a large volume of head-to-heads, but it should win your 50-50s. It should get you into the cash. So if you're wanting to build cash games and you focus on the players that are on sale and build a roster around as many of them as you can possibly find. As many of these guys as you can possibly fit in. You know, you may take an Arenado first because you like him and you're not worried about some of the value over here. You may see that Sean Rodriguez is starting. Look at the difference between 463 and then jumps to 818. Shortstop is also pretty pricey. So you may take an Arenado and a Paul DeJong or something like that. And then you may take a Hunter Pence, a Gordon Beckham, or a Cesar Hernandez if you like Philadelphia, a Jason Castro in Minnesota, or a Gurriel in Houston, and balance it all back out, and then take, you know, a Marquez because he's in a great spot. That may be the foundation of building your cash lineup, and that might just work out great for you because they're bringing value. They're all bringing value. They should work. A Tapia is not in a bad spot. He gets you Coors exposure, right? He's not going to cost you as much as Blackmon. These are the things that you can go through when you set these lists up ahead of time and you start working through the lineup construction. If I'm not stacking much because I'm focused more on value, I'm building more of a cash type lineup. I'm going to keep it out of tournaments. I'm going to keep it in 50-50s and things. But if you want to stack a little, let's say you take a Castro and a Beckham, and then you come over here with a Pence, and you've taken a ton of value, and you've bought, you know, you've saved money with a Marquez, and you know it's a little riskier than a Verlander, but you saved a little money with a Marquez because of upside. And you know you're set up to take a little bit of risk, but you're set up to score some upside. And you've got 4 or 5 lineup spots left over, and you've taken all this cheap stuff down here. Then for God's sake, load up on something. Go stack Colorado with the leftover money. Take a Mark Reynolds who's not on the list. Take, you know, somebody else. You know, go to Houston and load these guys up because right now they're all hot and they're all bringing value. I mean, look, Gurriel is on this list. Bregman's on this list. Correa's on this list. Brantley and Springer are on this list. Stack them all. Not only are they bringing you some value, they're in an okay matchup today, and they're red freaking hot, and they're underpriced. Stack them all. And then focus on your value in other positions. And you're going to find that's how you could get into a GPP because you're starting to correlate and stack within the same team. So you can either not stack and stick to cash, or you can stack a little bit and still focus on value and not worry so much about ownership. And you're in the middle somewhere, which is a hybrid lineup, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit more later this afternoon when we talk with the guys that we're coaching in trying to get them to play both cash and some GPP upside stuff. So that what my mantra is aim for the 1% lineups and miss with the 50-50s. I would take a couple of bucks. If I'm a real micro stakes player, I'd take like $2 and I'd put $1 in a 100-man league or a GPP or something, and then I would put another $1 in a 50-50, and I would build my lineup to win the GPP. And if it does well, but not well enough to get deep into the money, but still maybe, min cashes or maybe just misses the cash in the tournament, it demolished the cash game. And the $1 50-50 pays me $2, which actually covers my $1 GPP entry. I broke even on the day, and I live to fight another day. These are the concepts we preach. If these are the concepts that appeal to you, inside DFSArmy.com is where you need to be. Come inside, use the coupon code CHOP, CHOP, trigger that discount, get in here today, start learning today, and fly all the way through the weekend with NASCAR and MMA and the coaches we have over there, and NBA is still going. And you guys, there is too much going on to not take advantage of and learn. And learning baseball or learning NASCAR or whatever, it will help your other games because you learn other principles from other coaches in there that will then, and then we'll teach you those games too. So it'll teach you come back to baseball and be like, I learned this from NASCAR, but this works in baseball too. It's like when you're a kid, you tell your kids to play different sports. Don't just play hockey, play baseball, play golf, play basketball. Learn those sports. Work on, anticipating plays developing and thing. It'll improve your vision across the whole sporting landscape. Same thing with DFS. Come inside, come take a look. I'm Chopadong. I'm out of here. It's Friday. Hopefully this video was enough quality that you didn't get bored and you didn't turn away, because this end here with these ratios and these numbers are possibly going to become something that we're going to latch onto in the near future. Take care, guys. I will talk to you guys inside our coaching forums, dfsarmy.com. I'm Chopadong, and I'm out of here.